At Simply Amish, we believe if you're going to build a piece of furniture that's going to last for multiple generations, that piece of furniture also deserves to have the best finish possible on it. We have a post-catalyzed varnish, which is one of the toughest finishes in the industry. Sometimes we refer to our finish as post-catalyzed varnish, and other times we refer to it as conversion varnish, just two different names for the same product. Most people will use a pre-catalyzed either lacquer or varnish. It's a lot easier to use a pre-catalyzed product. It's a lot less work for the finisher and the process. When somebody's using a pre-catalyzed, the factory that makes the finish has to mix the catalyst in with the lacquer or varnish already at the factory level. What happens then is that those chemicals start breaking down and it's just not as good a finish. It's not as fresh when it goes onto the wood product. We choose to go the more difficult route of post-catalyzed varnish. We mix the required amount of catalyst into the virgin varnish right before using it. So by doing that, it actually allows the chemicals to start bonding right there on the piece of furniture. That's what makes it post-catalyzed. It will make it a much tougher finish overall. Post-catalyzed varnish has a lot of advantages over lacquer. Pre-catalyzed lacquer is about 12 to 18% solid content versus the post-catalyzed varnish that we use, which is a 40 to 60% solid content. So one coat of post-catalyzed varnish is equal to 3 or 4 coats of pre-catalyzed lacquer. Post-catalyzed varnish is thicker, more durable, and more flexible than lacquer. It won't crack or shatter as the solid wood expands and contracts, which is just a natural occurrence of solid wood. Post-catalyzed varnish does need to be protected for the first 30 days until it's completely cured. We give every piece of furniture a coat to seal it off to start with, and then we sand that. Anytime you make a piece of wood wet with whatever, you're going to rough up that surface of the wood. The sealer coat will rough up the surface. We will have to resand everything to make it nice and smooth again. We actually use a power sander in this process, unlike what most people will do, because we want to get that finish to be buttery smooth. By doing that, we now are ready to put a top coat on. On dining room tabletops, we use 2 coats before we sand it, and then we put a top coat on top of that. So we have added just a little extra protection on a dining room tabletop. But every piece of furniture has a coat, and then a sanding, and then a top coat. So our post-catalyzed varnish is resistant to alcohol and water, and it has at least some resistance to everything in your kitchen. Some things better than others. For instance, I bet most of you didn't know that mustard is the toughest one. So if a finish can hold up to mustard for even a couple of hours without having a stain spot or a permanent damage, it's a pretty good finish. Our finish does hold up to mustard for at least a couple of hours. For everything else that we've tested with, it holds up for quite a bit longer than that. But what we recommend is that any time that you spill something, you clean it up right away, and then you shouldn't have a problem. So our finish is as tough as it gets, but at the same time, it's not bulletproof. So you want to take care of it. We recommend that you use placemats, trivets for hot things. It is not heat resistant, so if you pull something out of the oven and put it right directly on a tabletop, you will probably cause damage to it. Not necessarily always, but you probably will. I would recommend that you always use a hot pad or a trivet for things like that. Unlike most of our competitors, we also finish the bottom sides of our tables, and this has a couple advantages. Number one is it's going to seal off the wood all the way around. It's going to have less chances of absorbing moisture where we don't want it to and creating problems for you in the long run. We have a lifetime warranty on our furniture, so we like to do everything we can to make sure that it's not going to cause you problems. So that extra varnish all the way around, even though you're not going to actually see the bottom side of the table very often, we just want to make sure that it's nice and smooth and protected. The other advantage to having it nice and smooth is when you're sitting at the table and you fold your legs, if it was rough, a lot of times you might actually snag a piece of fine clothing on the bottom side of your table. That should never happen with Simply Amish. Our normal post-catalyzed varnish is a 35 sheen, what you would consider a semi-gloss. So it's our normal sheen for most of the furniture. If you would like more of a satin finish, we do offer a 20 sheen. It's 5% extra. We also offer a 5 sheen, which is going to be like a flat, almost no sheen at all. The nice thing is that all 3 sheen levels are the same protection for your furniture. So you're not sacrificing anything just by choosing a different sheen. The 5 sheen and the 20 sheen are 5% extra. It is the same varnish. It is the same protection. On top of the post-catalyzed varnish, we also offer an option that's called polyurethane. While polyurethane is more difficult and costly for us to apply, it is preferred in the commercial applications because it's a little more scratch resistant and a little more chemical resistant. The polyurethane option is 10% extra for the standard 35 sheen, and just like our varnish, if you prefer a lower 20 or 5 sheen, those are an additional 5%, so it would be a total of 15% extra. A lot of people think that polyurethane is high gloss. Now, you can do a high gloss polyurethane, but we are offering it as the same sheens as our varnish, just for a little extra cost. It is a little more expensive. It adds extra, but if you want the toughest finish available on any piece of furniture, it would have to be polyurethane.